Hi, welcome to Non-Academic Study of TTRPGs with us. Hi, thank you. We're gonna start off by kind of having us each just give a quick introduction of ourselves. Then Emily and I each are going to talk for about 13 to 15 minutes or so, and then we'll launch into you guys. And does that sound good? We go with that? All right, cool. Emily.
Hi, I have tenure and I do what the fuck I want. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about how I got here in a couple minutes, but I work at a institution in the deep ass South, and I am privileged to work with majority progressive, queer, and otherwise marginalized students at a predominantly white institution and show them other possibilities, thanks in part to many of the people who are in this room. And also I write for Polygon to tell everybody else about the cool shit that you do.
Hi, I am this person. I'm John Bultena. I'm a continuing lecturer at the University of California, Merced, out in the Central Valley, and it's a lot of fun. It's where I grew up. I love the place. I'm also a part-time academic librarian, and I am the game master of Abrax Precipice, the Expanse role-playing game, which is all I ever talk about. Any of you who've ever met me know that's my. I will say that word. I try to go this con as long as I could without saying those words, and I last I think 15 minutes. But I'm gonna give the floor over here to Emily, and let's go for it. And you got the clicker?
I got the clicker. All right. I have the power.
You are now in charge.
So I want to start with a QR code that some people may see. It's going to come up a couple of different times, and it's going to be at the top of the screen in just a second, so patience. But this is the exercise that all of my classes start with, which is, what are your intellectual interests? In other words, recognizing the myriad ways that thinking is inspired and sustained as equally intellectual in and out of the classroom. And how do those interests come to you? And thinking about the stories of where your family, your community, the land itself has inspired and your interests. And also, what is your intellectual work for? And I'm going to be arguing that tabletop stuff is intellectual work in the best sense of the term. And so I want us to think about what we want to do with the knowledge that we cultivate here. And I'm going to tell you, and I want to acknowledge the people who bring me this knowledge. This exercise was first devised by my colleague, who is also an 18th century scholar, Dr. Eugenia Zorowski. She developed it in conversation with Dr. Manel Matani, and they're inspired by the Black intellectual tradition and praxis from scientist Dr. Catherine McKittrick. The QR code you're going to see come up again and again will take you to this slide deck, as well as a big old Google Doc of stuff, because I'm going to talk pretty fast, or at least I'm not going to talk about everything on the slides, because I want to show you the abundance in a very short amount of time. So I'm going to advance the slide, but I promise there's another QR code, because we're going to talk about the state of play in this, the year of our whatever, spaghetti monster, in so many ways, 2023. You can also go to aub.ie/BigBadCon2023, which will also take you to the same thing. Thanks, Auburn University, for making QR codes with the adorable Aubie, the best of all Tiger mascots. I don't believe in Auburn football, but I love Aubie. And so when we talk about where we know from, I want to start with the land itself. I am from Houston, Texas. Hey! I see you and I love you. Beyonce was my elementary school classmate. Sit with that for a second. I am from a place called Meyerland. I am an Ashkenazi Jewish descendant who is now Catholic for weird reasons, because my family made weird choices in Louisiana a long time ago. And when I drove to my Friedman grandparents' house on the streets of Houston, I saw a grid that showed me literally the same British author names that I would go on to devote my life to teaching and studying, all the way to Robin Hood Street. And Jane Austen was a short-ass cul-de-sac, and that's wrong. But over the years, I've learned about the larger history of the land I come from. And part of that you can see from native/land.ca acknowledges the ways in which it is a territory of a vast and ever-shifting group of indigenous people who need that land back. I too sit and teach and work on stolen land of the Muskogee Creek. The Poarch Creek are still with us and still our beneficiaries. but again, don't have enough land back. But I want to pull us back even further to the geological knowledge itself. I come from a swamp, my friends, and I think like a swamp. And what do I mean by that? And do I go too fast? No. I want to tell you about the swamp of the end of my dissertation, 2008, 2009. The economy was on fire. There was a writer's strike, y'all. There was platform shift as LiveJournal was bought by terrible people and Archive of Our Own and Tumblr rose. Oh shit, things don't change, they rhyme. Little Emily was fascinated by the stories that were created by people who were not writing for mass commercial publication, but for each other and for chosen groups of people. Some things don't change, they rhyme. I used to work and still work on recovering the stories of manuscript fiction, people who in a time of print chose intentionally to go smaller, to go handmade, to share stories with each other. The image that you see at the top right here, the two women who are on the title page are buried with each other. So I want to give you a little bit of an 18th century novel lesson because I have you as a captive audience. Because my job then and now is to avoid the great forgetting, which is a term that we give to the history of the 18th century novel. So the 18th century novel came out of a mess. No one could decide what a novel was. Sometimes it was short. Sometimes it was long. Sometimes it was based on older forms like the medieval romance. Sometimes it was based on true crime. Sometimes it was based on stories of distant lands. And sometimes those were colonizing. Things don't change, they rhyme. The novel rises and gains respectability when some people start to claim this is what a novel is, which means some things count and some things don't. And thus, the work of reviewers, who were uniformly white dudes, start to decide in turn what's going to get coverage and thus purchases. How many people have heard of Jane Austen? How many people have heard of Frances Burney? I love all of you bitches. But you notice that a lot of hands went down, my friends. Burney is part of the 60 to 70% of women writers who wrote before Austen, and Burney wrote after Austen, just so we're clear, who were forgotten because of this move towards canonization that erased the marginalized. I don't want that for you, and I speak on behalf of many people who are doing work in open access publications that you can read tomorrow or right now if you're bored. Analog Game Studies Journal, the Japanese Journal of Analog Role-Playing Game Studies, International Journal of Role-Playing, and a shit ton more is already out there studying what you do and appreciating what you do. I am a drop in that bucket, and there's more to come. I am at work on a close reading dossier of actual play material being written by junior scholars, looking closely and with great attention and love at the form. There's at least one book, probably two, of critical essays on Critical Role. There's a book on what does it mean for there to be indie in TTRPG. I speak to you as one of 12 authors writing together collaboratively, not in an essay collection, but totally improvisationally and collaboratively about the first 5 years and 20 campaigns of Dimension 20. And of course, I am your humble historian and this title, I don't know is the final title, but I want to tell the history of the first 15 years of digital actual play. My methodology, some of you may be familiar with part of it. 4,300 plus respondents have responded so far, and the link is in the QR code to the tabletop role-playing performance audience and participant study. I had to explain to collaborators who asked about bots who Matthew Mercer was and how somebody who has 750,000 followers who are extremely motivated and a community that is sensitive to calls to action came out and showed out. We actually only had to throw about 12 things out because those folks were underage. I am here to soft launch at Big Bad Con specifically and exclusively an interview protocol that is also IRB approved to talk to members of the community. I'm going to spend the next 1, 2, maybe 3 years. That's the limit of the survey of the study so far. Big Bad Con was exclusively the place that I was allowed to talk about this. The QR code that you can come and pick up on the back of my business card is an intake survey because I want to represent as wide a spectrum as possible, and I'll talk about the survey results to anybody who wants to ask any question in the Q&A. Then we're going to talk for an hour or more, depending on how we feel, and then you will see the transcript. You will decide how you want to be cited and what you want to be anonymized. In other words, you want that quote, but you don't want to be, you have your name behind it. Fair. Or what you'd like to have it aggregated. In other words, if enough people say this, then I want this to be said. This all flows from my classes on how games tell stories. And this is how I transition to what John's class looks like, which is very similar to my own. But I want to, before I finish, note the ways in which this education is not only in the classroom, it's with really brilliant undergraduate researchers who are paid for their work for the summer, fall, and spring. And in fact, one of them is being paid to be here right now. My darling, could you please stand up?
Call him out.
So some of you in the room have spoken to Olivia Price, who works on Backstage Labor and Actual Play, talking to everybody from DC Lazaire to Rick Perry, my favorite human being in the world. And Carson works on authorship and intellectual property and actual play and the different ways that people think about it. If you care about this shit too, go talk to my dear, dear Carson. I am incredibly honored to answer any questions, but I want to emphasize in the last hot second that I have that I am one. I am one of many, and we would like to join you here if you would like us to be here. So many junior scholars, and they are overwhelmingly undergraduates and graduate students. I'm the old head in this collective. When they present at conferences about your work. They present at the American Society for 18th Century Studies. They have 15 to 20 minutes to talk about their work, and they have to spend 10 of it explaining what a TTRPG is, and what actual play is, and why anyone should care. I'd like to bring them to a place where people already care. I hope that's this place or somewhere else. But I'm very, very grateful to see a full room here because it gives me some sign that there's an alliance to be made.
There's hope to be on. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was great.
I told you I could keep the 13
No, you did.
minutes.
No, it was great. It was good. I was very impressed. And so I do have to acknowledge, I actually have one of my students here in the back of the room. If you came in the room, you got helped summarize back there as one of our many scholarship recipients. Is that the correct term? You got a scholarship for this or something? Okay. Someone paid something. That's all that matters. All right. So hi, I'm John Bultena. I'm from Merced, University of California, Merced, out in the middle of California. And today's presentation is called A Tale of Wonder, or how I got the words Dungeons & Dragons to appear on hundreds of students' transcripts, and I cannot be stopped. All right. So I'll give a little context, and I figured that'd be a little treat for you all. I work at UC Merced, so we're pretty new. Like, as far as universities go, we're pretty new. We were founded in 2005. We were the first research university built in the 21st century. Got selected somehow, whatever. We're pretty small still at 8,344 undergrads. My institution we serve California, so the big state, a lot of people from all over. My students come from Bay Area, LA, a lot from LA, Central Valley, Northern California, the mountains, wherever. And 70% of my students are first generation college students. This is a very large amount. This is like beyond it. In addition, my institution is also a designated Hispanic serving institution. To get that designation, 25% of your student body has to be Hispanic. Mine is 59%. Okay. And I bring this all up because this will start to address, my class is part of the thrust to address some issues and historical issues and stuff like that, and try to help bring a lot of people into the fold of the university. And so we came up with this idea called Spark Seminars. The premise is to explore the nature of inquiry through multidiscipline and interdisciplinary perspective and experiences. This is a general education course. It is required, not my version of it, but there's other versions of it. But mine has been very successful, we'll say, compared to the other professors. Thank you. And I'm very proud of it, to the point where like the school like pays me money to go talk to other people on the campus saying you should teach these type of courses. Here's John. He'll show you how to build one. Thank you. But the idea is not for them to do research, but for them to figure out and start even beginning to think of themselves as researchers. They can do this stuff. So that brings me to my class's title, and I kid you not, this is the title of the class. The school somehow fucking approved this, including the question mark, but the name of the class is Dungeons & Dragons Skills IRL. I had one character left, and I got the question mark in, and they actually included it, and I still, mind-boggling. Punctuation for the win. So what does this class do? Well, we generate questions about and using tabletop role-playing games. So we look at them and how they kind of function. We look at how they can be applied. We look at stuff that like Emily's doing. We look at people online, actual plays. We look at books. We look at all kinds of stuff. I mean, whatever we can get our hands on, we look at. And I'll talk a little bit about what we look at specifically here in a moment. One of the goals is to utilize multiple perspectives and disciplines. So my students are like in everything. Got a lot of STEM majors, but we got some psych majors, cognitive science majors. Sim back there is a bio. 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 Life. Rules. And whatever they're into, I want to foster their capacity to examine it how they want to, even if that isn't their major. And I also try to foster it in such a way that they can try new things. So, and that brings me to my next point, which is to approach new topics with care and understanding, ethically. I want to make sure they are aware of what they're doing, what they're asking, how they're phrasing it, so they're basically, they can keep on doing it, because if you screw up enough times, you're done. But I want to make sure that they really think about like who these people are, what's going on, and understand that like all this stuff we like, computers, like movies, tabletop role-playing games, they're made by people. There's someone behind the page, behind the screen, whatever it is. Like, they're real people. And so I try to help them understand that to some degree. Well, what do we use to examine this? Well, I use a common read, which is Dangerous Games by Joseph P. Laycock. The subtitle is What the Moral Panic Over Role-Playing Games Says About Play, Religion, and Imagined Worlds. Dr. Laycock is a religious scholar out of Texas. He's a fantastic person, a lot of fun. And I use this book for a few reasons. One, I was personally a victim of the satanic panic, if you want to use that phrase. I have at least 2 instances I can remember my dad threatened to burn my books. I had a friend's grandfather slam a door in my face, calling me a Satanist when I think I was 12. So I mean, I knew about this stuff, but this kind of looks into the moral panic, and we go through moral panics a lot in this country. They love them, and this kind of helps deconstruct a moral panic and help us kind of approach it. The book's well researched. Literally, like about 6 of the book is citations. Like, it's unreal. It is nice. It gives some historical context for the students. So they're young. They're new to the world. They weren't around for it, so it helps them kind of understand it. It's interdisciplinary. It does go into like cognitive science a little bit. It goes into some like philosophy, some religious stuff, some sociology, some criminology. The students love the true crime part. Like, people love that stuff now, I guess, right? And lastly, this is probably one of the #1 reasons why I keep on using it. It was published by the University of California Press, which means every single one of my students can get free access to it online. Nice. Ergo, creating equity. So what do we do in the class? Well, we read the book, we talk about the book, and for some reason, know professionals. Somehow they like me, they'll listen to me, and occasionally...
It happens to the best of us,
happens to the best of us, sooner or later. Yeah, I just keep on liking your shit till you talk to me. You don't laugh because that's true. But so what does this involve? Well, students read or view about an individual. I give them some videos, some articles. I usually ask the individual, what would you like the students to know about you? What do you want them to see? What's a good example, right? Put on your best face. Don't let them look you up or look at your Wikipedia or, show me what you want them to know. They then manifest questions, and then shockingly enough, they talk to the person. I'm going to give kind of a sample of some of the guests we've had. Most have been via Zoom. We've only had 2 in person. But let me go ahead and go through it. And actually, some of the people are in this room today. So if you're here, raise your hand because you're awesome. We had Jennifer Kretschmer. We had Lisa Penrose, B. Dave Walters, Ashley Warren, Joseph Laycock himself, Goldie Chan several times. This person, who I can't remember their name, Emily Friedman.
Friedman.
Cody Ponsmith was actually one of my favorites.
What?
Cody Ponsmith? Yeah,
No, I meant you were insulting me, but go.
Oh, was I? Oh, because, okay. I'm sorry, Cody's awesome, dude. My buddy Peter Young, Linda Kodega, Andrani came to our class, which was dope. And then this semester, we have Steve Kenson from Green Ronin talking to the class. And I just got D'Angelo Morello to agree to it after I played his game and said, can you now talk to my students? That's why I came here.
People will do anything for a play test.
I had to buy the book too, apparently. And he still killed my character? What? Okay. Anyways, but no. So that's one element of the kind of a research element that the students kind of gear their questions towards what they want to see or what they want to hear, and it's really successful. Students they're brand new to this field and they ask some tough hitting questions. That leads to our line of inquiry, which is the main thrust. So the goal of the class, the big capstone, is to manifest a research question, not answer it. Just manifest that curiosity. Get there. Don't worry about trying to answer it. Consider things like methodology. There's a lot of ways to answer the same question. What kind of resources would they need? That's always a concern. And the significance, both personal and academic. So I want them to have a tie into that as well. My last part here is some student testimonials. This came from a student over the summer. They are a bio major, and they said, I tend to scoff at the arts and humanities for most of my life. Fair enough, right? I'm cool with that. I tell them, if you got something to say to me, what I do, go for it. I'm down. I'll take it. I'm on the internet, guys. They said, rather than being just a bio student, I feel more well-rounded now. Well, I got more. They said, I love that I got a chance to take a closer look at religion and conspiracy theories this semester, and the things that there are to discover behind these concepts is very cool. This student came early in the semester. We started talking about moral panics and conspiracy theories, got very interested in the class suddenly. And I come to find out that their mother is a big QAnon person. And the student could not understand that. Why? Well, we got into the book, we understand how moral panics work, we dissect one, and she was like, holy shit, I understand how this works now. I understand how someone can fall for this. I can understand how and why. So she created not just an academic interest, but a personal interest, and that I view as a high success. I'm very happy with that. And also they like the humanities now. They think we're not a bunch of losers. But then, that's great, but I got results, and I thought I'd share my results with you if you doubt me. And it goes like this. This is a screen cap of an unofficial transcript I got from a student that gave me permission to show it. And as you'll see, it shows that the word Dungeon Dragons skills IRL with a question mark appears on their transcript. Nice. If anyone's from Wizards, I'd like to get my few dimes for my advertising here is permanent. Every time they go to get a job, they get come on, it's free advertising, right? What the hell is this? And I haven't got any parents to complain or ask for their money back yet, so that's good too.